You know the age-old saying, Norwegians are born with skis on their feet. But apparently, Norway isn't just good at skiing. Let's take a look. Today, we'll be reacting to a video about why Norway keeps producing elite athletes, or this video says super athletes. This is interesting. We know that Norway dominates the Winter Olympics, and we know that Norwegians love to run up mountains and go hiking. So, this will be interesting. Why does Norway, or how does Norway, produce these super athletes? Let's take a look.
What country has the best athletes in the world? The US, China, or maybe France? Those countries usually top the medal table at the Olympics. Well, at least at the Summer Olympics. At the Winter Olympics, it's the tiny country of Norway that dominates. But it's not just snow and ice.
I just said that.
They have 4 of the best footballers in the world. Haaland and Odegaard in the men's, Hegerberg and Hansen in the women's game. There's Kasper Ruud in tennis, Victor Hovland in golf, Magnus Carlsen in chess. There are Vikings winning over the hurdles. They are even beating the Kenyans in long-distance events. Triathlon, weightlifting, cycling, heck, they are even winning in beach volleyball. Per capita, Norway is the most successful sporting nation in the world. But why is that? The more you delve into the Norwegian success formula, the more interesting it becomes. It's a story about money, mind-blowing science, and the unique culture. Welcome to Athletic Interest and how tiny Norway produces the best athletes in the world.
It's probably because they're descendants of Vikings.
The natural reflex is to point out that Norway is super rich and has a lot of resources to put into its sporting infrastructure. But that explains nothing on its own. Ireland has a similar population and GDP, but how many great Irish athletes can you name right now? Besides, Norway has been wealthy for decades, but for most of the time they only had world-class skiers and maybe here and there a player who made it to the Premier League. Today they are everywhere. We are not saying that money isn't a factor. Norway's state fund holds over $1.7 trillion in assets.
That'd be a cool thing to watch a video on. Let me know if you want to see that. The Norwegian Wealth Fund, that's what it was called or something. That would be super cool to look at.
This allows Norway to have better infrastructure, better coaches, better equipment. So, obviously, money is not the issue. But it's also not the sole reason for all the medals. In 2018, Norway made it to the top of the Olympics medal table with only 1/10 of the budget of the British. Maybe they're just spending it wiser. Norway doesn't even invest in sports like skeleton or bobsleigh, as Britain or Germany do, because they say those cost too much money. So if money is not the answer, what is it that makes Norway so successful? It's a paradox.
This video is edited really cool. I like it. Snazzy. Fancy.
Norway is a very rich country, but they believe in the socialist way of doing things. Success should come from working hard and being together. Families don't need to chase athletic scholarships because college, like healthcare for youth, is free. Sports is not seen as a way out of a tough neighborhood. 93% of children grow up playing organized sports. Organized usually means in a local sports club. There are more than 11,000 of those in Norway. This also means that there are a lot of coaches. Most parents work 8 hours a day and are happy to spend their free time with their kids, to volunteer as a coach. That's not possible if you're working 16-hour shifts. The philosophy is a little bit like planning a successful YouTube video. You need a high click rate and retention. So the idea is to get as many kids as possible into sports and keep them playing for as long as possible. The head of elite sports in Norway.
It's interesting. I have heard that that is very important to Norwegians, and Norwegians are very, not necessarily strict, but like, you know, that is a value that they hold, is that their kids are in sports and involved growing up, and that, you know, you have to do at least one sport if you're going to be a kid, which I think is smart. Probably has a lot of teaching opportunities, moral value. You know, you learn a lot of good life skills by doing that, I would assume.
It puts it like this. Big nations are all about selection, getting rid of people. Norway allows children who are late developers or whose parents could not support them time to find their potential. This means that despite its relatively small population, the talent pool is huge, because basically everyone is doing sports. It may sound like a small detail, but it's much more than that. because of the so-called relative age effect. There is a great video by Memeable Data that deep dives just into this. We'll link it in the description. For our story, we'll focus on what this means for sports. These are all players in the Spanish First Division, grouped by month of birth. As you can see, there are significantly more players born in the first half of the year. That's not a coincidence. In most sports, children are grouped based on their year of birth. So let's say you are born December 31st, 2008, and your best friend is born January the 1st, the same year. Your friend is almost 1 year older than you, but you are still competing against each other. On average, children born earlier in the year are taller, stronger, and faster. Therefore, an older child will have a higher chance of being selected by the coach to play. Being selected to play means the child gets more experience, becomes better, and ends up with higher chances of becoming a professional athlete later on. The older player...
What? That's so interesting. That's some, like, psychology thing, right? I mean, I guess it makes sense because you are technically a year older if you're born January than if you're born in December, like, duh. But that is what determines if you have more experience, become better, and are more likely to succeed? Whoa, that's pretty interesting. I'm born in October, by the way, so if that says anything about me.
Is picked because he is better, and then ends up becoming better with time because he was picked, apparently validating the early decision of the coach. Small advantages at an early stage become bigger advantages later on. Countries like the US or China with a high population don't care. They can simply drag millions of kids through their sports system, and some of them will get through. But if you are a small country like Norway, you need to make sure that you do not waste a single talent simply because they were born late in the year. Norway's success in sports isn't just about talent, it's about smart systems and innovation. Speaking of innovation from Norway, this brings us to today's video partner, Opera. Opera...
No free promos here. If you want to be on my channel, Opera, gotta talk to me directly.
So how does Norway get almost all their kids to do sports? For comparison, in the US only a little more than half of the kids are doing sports. Norway's success is the result of a plan called Children's Rights in Sport, adopted by the National
I told you it was super important here.
Olympic Committee in 2007. It is a document unlike any other in the world. On 8 pages, it describes the type of experience that every child in Norway must be provided. The vision of idrettsglede, which literally means the joy of sport. The document is about safety, friendship, but also the freedom to choose. Children may decide for themselves how much they would like to train, and can even opt out of games if they just want to practice. Want to transfer clubs in mid-season? Go ahead, no penalty. Teams are not even allowed to keep score until kids are 11. That means no targets or league tables. Coaches are forbidden from telling young athletes how much they weigh to not induce eating disorders. Competition is promoted, but not at the expense of development and the joy of sport.
So smart. It seems like Norway always gives me evidence that they just think like that little bit further than, say, like the US when it comes to things like this. Like, they put all of that into consideration when it comes to something seemingly so simple to me as children in sports. It's insane. Norway just keeps surprising me with things like that.
For all. Because Norway believes the motivation of children in sport is much more important than that of the parent or coach. Violate the rules, and the federation or club risks losing access to government grants. Children are also not pushed to specialize in a single sport too early. Erling Haaland grew up running, skiing, and playing handball. The idea is to leave the kids alone, because they learn a lot from playing, from not being anxious, from not being counted, from not being judged, and they tend to stay on for longer. And also at a later age, the joy of sports is reinforced. There even is a strict no idiots rule, as the skier Ketil Jansrud explained in 2018. We believe there is no good explanation for why you have to be a jerk to be a good athlete. We just won't have that kind of thing on our team. Okay, so everyone is doing sports and there are no idiots. But what happens next? If an athlete is good, they are brought to Olympiatoppen, the Norwegian elite sports center. This is where Norway's sports machine goes into overdrive. Located in...
Never heard of this. Cool. Olympiatoppen.
Oslo, Olympiatoppen combines cutting-edge sports science with Norway's unique philosophy. Every Olympiatoppen athlete gets a personalized team. Coaches, physiotherapists, nutritionists, and mental performance experts. And if there's one thing that sets Norwegian athletes apart, it's their obsession with data.
I wonder what your requirement is to become an Olympiatoppen athlete. Let's look it up. That's not what I want. Can't find anything specific on it. I don't know. Maybe it'd be interesting to see more of a video on this, a little bit more in depth. Let me know if you want to see that.
They don't just train hard, they train smart, especially when it comes to endurance sports. A lot of this can be traced back to a runner named Marius Bakken. Bakken was fast and curious. Over his career, he conducted more than 5,000 lactate tests on himself to measure the intensity of his training. He even traveled to Kenya to test elite runners, searching for the perfect formula. What he discovered was groundbreaking. Most athletes were training too hard during their intervals. Bakken found a sweet spot just below the lactate threshold. Bakken laid the groundwork, but it was the Ingebrigtsen brothers who took his ideas and ran with them, and turned theory into world-class results. So, while other countries might focus on raw talent or massive budgets, Norway proves that curiosity, data, and teamwork can take a small nation to the top of the world.
Interesting. So being a top Norwegian athlete isn't just about ice baths or wearing skis. Who would have known? Now we do, right? Let me know what you thought. Why do you think Norway produces these super athletes, per se? Please, let me know if there's anything else that you want me to react to in the comments. A lot of you are giving me some really good ideas that I'm going to be looking into very shortly. I can't wait, so please stick around because you'll want to see what's coming out next. Bye.